Greetings from the beautiful Western Cape in South Africa. We had a few technical issues, mainly my fault for not pressing the record button at the beginning of our conversation in this week's episode with financial planner Zoran Sokolovski. We started out by discussing fees on endowment and endowment wrapper type products, mainly in the offshore market, and some of the exorbitant fees being charged by some of the larger companies. So please join us as we get into the discussion with Zoran and enjoy this episode.
Of fees payable in universities versus the kids from the clients that are non-EU citizens. Now, 1/4 means 25%. So, I mean, for 4 years or a master on one of those expensive universities, that's a huge amount that actually pays for the visa itself, you know. So
Right.
here's my first advice.
Can you clarify that a bit, go into that in a little bit more detail?
Yeah. So basically, if you're non-citizen, a resident of the EU economic area, you pay the fees as a non-resident, and they are about 4 times higher than if you are residents or citizen of European area. So I paid the higher one, so I know exactly what's the difference. It's actually a huge difference. And also coming back to the point that if you want to visit them, if you want to have travel without hassle about visas and which country is going to allow you or not, if you want to set yourself up for future, maybe to go and move with your kids overseas or even to retire or to live with them, if the grandkids comes, you would like to be with them if they're there. Then the first, and this is the whole story surrounding with this first point of call, which is contacting the professional companies that are actually arranging visas and citizenships for South African citizens. There are multiple, there are lots of them, really lots of them. So what I can advise is, I've just relationship with all of them, but that's not the point. The point is that they need to talk to the specialist advisor in at least 1 or 2, if not 3 of those companies, and explain to them their specific situation. What are their plans? Where the kid wants to go? What is the need for visa? You see, because here we're coming again now. South Africans relocating abroad. It's not just because of the kids. Some people want to relocate all the time to different countries, so they need different visas. Some people just want to have visa-free travel. So for them, maybe the Caribbean visa, which is much cheaper, is actually the best solution. So you need to have a proper advice, and you need to explain what your situation is, and then check what is the best way to obtain that visa. And please don't look at the small companies. Don't look at the companies that just advertise, but they don't exist, because there's a lot of scam out there about visas.
So that was my next question. How do people know that they're dealing with a reputable company and they're not going to get scammed?
First of all, again, I'm not going to put myself in here. I know which companies are there. I can recommend that on my website or maybe later on. But you need to look at their footprint. Do they have offices around the world? And that's the most important thing, actually, because if they are doing that, then they have offices around the world. You need to check the experience of the clients. Because they have like time frames. They're 3 months, 6 months, when they're getting visas, but are they actually working with the proper lawyers? They're just giving some people in administration, kickbacks, because believe it or not, Europe is ripe with the bribery, same like South Africa, same like everywhere in the world. Right. So there are companies that are actually just, they're doing visa, they're taking money, but they're not investing money in a proper litigation, in the proper legal advice services. They're investing far less amount, and then sometimes it happens for you that you're going to wait for 2 years for a visa, instead of like 3 months, 6 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's very important. Now, visas, obviously tax implications you need to know. That's if you're about to move You need to know legalities, all the legalities about what you can do, what you cannot do in the country that you go. Okay, there's just the basic stuff, to familiarize yourself with the legal system of that country. And then we come to the tax.
Mm.
You need to know a few things. I mean, first of all, if you work in that country, does that country has and what kind of tax system do they have? Is it UK or is it Dubai? It's totally two different stories.
Hmm.
You need to know if that country has a double taxation agreement with South Africa.
What is a double taxation agreement?
Okay, so double taxation agreement is the agreement that is signed between country A, let's say UK, can be any country. There's a list on SARS website which countries have signed the double taxation agreement. It's a lot of countries, 100 and something countries, and South Africa. So what does that actually mean in reality? That means that if you have to pay tax in the UK, you're still liable by South African law to pay tax in South Africa because you taxed on your worldwide income, and people are not aware of it. But there's two good things here I must share so people are not that scared. Now, first one is that you can have a tax credit. So if you pay tax in UK, which is higher than South African tax on the same salary, you can actually utilize that as a tax credit.
Okay.
If the taxation is lower than in South Africa, you might pay slightly extra tax in South Africa just to cover the gap. So that's what it means. You're not going to pay double tax, but you're going to pay the tax in the country which is higher if it's a higher than South African tax. All right. The good news is a lot of people don't know this. Is that if you're living abroad and you're not spending more than 183 days and 60 days consecutively in South Africa, so which means you are in Dubai or you are in UK or wherever in Europe, your foreign income is not taxable if you are employed, if you have a normal contract of employment. If you're not like self-employed, that's not included. But if you're employed in any kind of employment definition by the SARS rules, you have exemption. Actually, you have to apply, but you do get exemption on 1,250,000 rand per year. So basically, your earnings of 1,250,000 rands per year are non-taxable at all. So you don't have to worry. So, for example, if you are in Dubai and you're not paying tax at all on your income, well, you're not going to pay tax at all on your first 1.250, so 1,250,000 rand in South Africa either. Okay. Everything above that, you will be liable for tax in South Africa. So that's something that is important. But yeah, as I said, also, if you have a complex, if you are self-employed, if you're a director, if you have dividends, if you have shares, if you are if you run a big company overseas, you need to get into the contact with the tax specialists who are dealing with this situation.
Right. We're talking about 1.2 million, and again, I had 1.2 million rand. And again, I had to stop myself because I have been thinking of the format that we're going to take for this, and do we make it a little bit more lighthearted? Because I think so many financial programs, or I don't know if we can call it financial advice, but just financial programs are, so serious. I was going to say, when you said 1.2 million, oh, you mean $8? And because as we've seen our currency decrease. So from the point of view, we can look at 2 points of view, actually. From the point of view, Zoran, of someone looking at going overseas, they're earning rands now. Maybe they know 10 years from now, the kids are in primary school, the kids are going into high school, they'll finish university here, or they'll go to university there. Ideally, they've got 5 years or 10 years to put money away. Do they invest it in South Africa? Then secondly, or do they invest it in a different currency? But is it really overseas, or is it in a currency that's locked to a foreign country that's locked to South Africa? And then also another thing is, if people may consider going overseas while the kids are studying, but when they want to retire and the kids are maybe settled, they may want to come back to South Africa. So in terms of those two currency things, let's look at the first one if we can. You got 5 years, 10 years, you want to have the option of going overseas with your kids. What are the challenges with the products in South Africa that say they're giving you an exchange rate hedge, but where can you access your money? And should you be doing that, or should you be looking at equities in South Africa? Where would you be investing money for a younger family?
Yeah. Okay. So
I know it's a lot in that question, so
yeah, but it's just simply put, South African economy is like 1.3% of the world economy, and markets
mm.
is 1.3% of the world markets, and economy is 0.6, I think, percent.
And if you take gold out of that,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So the biggest, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's wrong to invest in a currency in the US dollar wrappers or endowments by South African insurance companies. However, if you really think that you might be going overseas, and if you really want to protect your offshore investment, if you really want to diversify away from the rand, what does it actually mean? I mean, why would you diversify from the rand? And why is rand so volatile?
mm.
Well, because the rand is connected to the risk of the country. So by investing in South African companies who have all these offshore products, you still haven't diversified, and you still haven't saved yourself from the risk of the country. You're still tying your investment and your future to the risk of South Africa and South African banks, South African insurance companies. And
Can I touch on that point as
yeah,
well? Because it's a good one. Um, Many times when I was in the industry, we'd talk to clients about retirement funding and going into a retirement annuity. At that time, then you would be able to access one third as cash, two thirds would have to go into a compulsory purchase annuity to buy you that annuity income. And a lot of the clients would say to me, they don't like an idea of an RA because they don't want their money locked into South Africa when they're old. They want to make the decision. Then they would they'd maybe want to go into an endowment wrapper, into unit trusts. But the problem that we had again was we didn't have the facilities at that time, primarily legitimately, to be able to get the money offshore. So even though it was here, it was still, it wasn't in an RA, it locked into a compulsory purchase annuity, but it was still tied into South Africa and was still locked into South Africa. So what's changed that to give clients that flexibility? And another question leading on to that, I'm hitting you with a lot tonight. Would you advise clients to start getting money offshore as soon as possible in terms of their allowances?
yes, this is, well, this subject is obviously a part of the financial needs analysis that I will do with the client. You know, um, we can talk about the rule of thumb, or we can talk about certain situations where clients are thinking that they might be retiring overseas.
So I think
And
we
it's
talk, yeah, talking about the client. We're talking about clients with dependents, married,
Hmm,
with kids. Kids are going to be looking at going overseas. Uh,
yeah.
or, so yeah, or there's an employment opportunity overseas.
But actually, Nick, to be honest, with the knowledge that I have about offshore markets, which is vast, huge, and really big, um, I can say with the confidence that all the products that we have in South Africa, including our life cover products, can be found offshore, directly offshore, with much more benefits than what we have in South Africa. So that's number
Right.
one. This is what I didn't realize, because we live in a universe where we know that we have very robust and very good financial system. As we do, insurance companies are very good. RA is what it is. So now I will have to touch on RA, because RA, the laws have changed quite a lot
Mm.
recently, and this is the problem. People are afraid what the government can do, with the structure of the RA. And
because the law today does not mean the law in 20 years' time.
even today, my clients that live overseas and they have RA in South Africa are very disappointing with what's happening right now, because portion of their money is going into the savings component, which is not going to grow. It's a whole story about that. But the biggest concern for them is actually, okay, can I get all the money out because I'm living in UK or I'm living in Mexico, or I'm living, because I have clients from Mexico to UK to Dubai actually. And the answer is yes, if you financially emigrate from South Africa. So this doesn't mean that you're just outside of South Africa like I am more than 183 days, but you can't receive income from South Africa. You can't have a property on your name in South Africa. So you need to totally financially and physically emigrate out of South Africa. However, you are then taxed with your top marginal rate on that lump sum. So if your RA or your annuity that you're drawing is like 2 million rand, you're going to pay between 35 and 38% of that straight away. So I say to the clients, look, you have you have bad and a little bit less bad situation. The bad one is that you're gonna lose 40% of your capital straight away, and then for the rest you can buy the dollars or whatever, or pounds. And the other not so bad is if you still draw that annuity and buy every month the US dollars or pounds, at least you're not going to be paying so much tax. So, they all tell me that if they knew they're going to move overseas, they will never invest in a product such as retirement annuity.
Right.
And obviously, for the benefits of people who do have an RA, I have my retirement annuity also. I used to invest in retirement annuity. I have it in South Africa. But the minimum what they have to do is they have to diversify their portfolio, and I would say 50-50, whatever they could afford, between the RA and the offshore investment. Or it's nothing wrong to have just an offshore policy. Because let's look at the things. We have offshore policies which are not taxed when they grow, okay? And they are in a big, strong countries with much better ratings than South Africa. The option of portfolios are much better, much bigger than in South Africa, so the growth can be better. So at the end of the day, you have endowment or RA. Okay, the endowment has the tax inside the fund, and the payout is tax-free. RA has no tax inside the fund. You do have tax deductions, some tax deductions obviously according to your income, but then you're fully taxable on your income, which is quite a high tax. And then on the other hand, so these are two options: a unit trust, which are taxable in your hands, all the growth, your capital gains and interest that you put in a unit trust. So you have unit trust, you have endowment products, you have retirement annuity products, and these are three different taxations that you have to take care of. Offshore products, 90% of them that I actually have been in contact with, they don't have a tax on growth. Okay, so your growth is tax-free. And then what happens if you want to retire and you want to receive the income out of that policy? Again, it is like offshore income. It's still up to 1.25 million exemption. I mean, just think about it. In South Africa, annual exemption is what, 70,000-80,000 rand a year.
Okay.
This is 1.25 million. So even if you retire in South Africa, you can receive monthly income tax-free. So you didn't pay tax on a growth, and you're not paying tax on annuities that you receive. And you have a flexibility. And if you don't want to be in South Africa or anywhere else, those products can cater wherever you are. They will pay into the account in whichever country you are. This is actually one of the most powerful features. There's lots of them, but one of the most powerful features is actually that if you move from Spain to UK and you open an account in UK, they will just continue paying your annuity or your income into your account. So you don't have to get paid in South Africa and then use like Shift or the other, transfer it into your accounts, pay like
and pay charge.
You pay charges, for all of them. Yeah. True.
We have clients that we train overseas, and they're on our most cost-effective package, which is an online group package. And with what we charge them and with what the fees are for us to get paid, we almost considering just training them for free because the
Yeah.
fees take up so much of that income. I mean, that's a hugely important point. How flexible are the annuity selection amounts on those plans? Can you vary it from 5% to 3% to 10% to 1%?
Yeah. Okay. So just to touch on that, because it's a huge universe of products. I mean, you can have a products where you can actually get any amount that you want.
Right.
Yeah, so there's no lock-in of like a retirement annuity.
Okay.
It's look at it like a money matured in endowment,
Mm.
and then you can take as and when you want whatever amount you want.
But
Okay.
it's almost like a budgeting exercise that you can
Yeah.
rely. You know that if you put away, you got your $20 million or your $5 million stashed away, you say, okay, I know that I can get 4% comfortably just to be safe. I'll draw down 3%. Can I live on that 3%? Yes, I can. I'll select that. And it takes the thinking out of it. Would that be
Yeah.
sort of the idea behind those products?
Yes. Yes. I mean, diversification is the key here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I usually tell my high net worth individuals to do something um, like first there's a foundation. Like every house has a foundation, and then you add, the doors, and you add the nice
Mm.
what's the name, windows and frames. And so foundation for me would be something that is very conservative and has the highest amount of guaranteed income.
Mm.
So I can tell you now, if you put the money, if you have a lump sum, whatever, 2 million, and you say to me, I want to retire in 5 years, I can guarantee you, right? There are products now that are guaranteed 5%, sorry, 5 years, 7.1%,
Mm-hmm.
7.1% of your capital. It gets paid to you when you pass away. It's transgenerational. This is another good thing about some of the companies that you can work with offshore, that they have these transgenerational products. What does that mean? Well, if you're married and you have kids, this is what it
Mm-hmm.
means. You take that policy and you say, okay, I'm fine to receive 7%. And if I want more, for the inflation hedging for future, then we will invest the different amount into the little bit higher risk stuff. There's millions of options, vanilla ETF funds or private equity funds, you name it, properties in UK and everywhere
Mm-hmm.
else in the world. So there is diversification that can give you more growth. But if you have enough to live out of this 7%, what you're actually getting is you're getting 7% guaranteed. When you pass away, and if your wife and spouse is still, or the other way around, is still alive, she continues getting 7%. So whatever, what is 2 million? That's
Mm-hmm.
$140,000. So she carries on getting $140,000. When she passes away, the policy stays. The policy doesn't end. Okay, there is no state duty. There is nothing. Then kids are nominated, and let's say a simple example. There's one child. That child also gets paid until his age of 120 or until he passes away.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at that policy carefully, you probably look at about 80 to 90 years of payout. So if people say, well, 7% is not huge, in US dollars or pounds, 7% guaranteed, I think it's quite big amount.
Yes,
So
very much so.
these are some of the things that we don't have, I think, in South Africa, and that people should consider because it brings them some kind of security, I think.
Right.
I don't think I know. I actually put the foundation for my own planning in one of those products. Yes.
So, with that locking, you said there's no estate duty on it as well.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, obviously there is no estate duty. There's also another very important thing. Maybe
Mm.
we'll talk about it later, but people are not aware that if you have a life cover, which is offshore life cover, so proper offshore life cover done by some of the biggest insurance companies in the world, like
Mm-hmm.
Manulife and Sun Life, and your family gets a payout in dollars or pounds or renminbis, or you can choose the currency basically. there is no estate duty or any tax payable on those proceeds.
Right.
Same like a life cover in range that will pay out from insurance
Yes.
company like Discovery or Liberty, Momentum.
Okay, fantastic. Looking at just going back to currency hedging,
Yes.
from the point of coming back to South Africa, and I know you sort of touched on this in terms of the annuity, but if you have savings that you're generating offshore while you're working, you can put that into one of these vehicles and that'll pay you your annuity when you're back in South Africa.
Well, I can just compare it like this. So if you're not working overseas, let's say you're working you end up retiring in the United States, and your annuity is in US dollars. Then you have 7 or 10%, depends on the policy waiting period, but you have guaranteed annuity that's going to pay out for your whole life and your family's life. But you don't have inflation hedge, so you need to, if you want, you need to get a little bit more investment in some other areas. However, if you do come back into South Africa, the policy is almost like a inflation hedge because it's a rand hedge policy. So
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying? So even though it's $440,000 every year, it doesn't mean that in rand terms, it's the same amount
It's
every
less.
year.
Right.
So you will get more and more rands if you retire in South Africa and you have a guaranteed payout in foreign currency.
Right.
So even better than if you retire overseas, I would say. So a lot of people plan to retire in South Africa, and I think it's great.
And then just to touch on the other point you made, where it can be paid, these kind of products can be paid into different bank accounts. If a husband and wife retire, they come back to South Africa, maybe the husband passes away and the wife, the mother, doesn't want to live in South Africa on her own anymore, she can move back overseas, maybe to be with the kids and take the income with her.
Yeah, income is paid into your bank account wherever you are residing at that moment.
Right. So
because these are offshore structured big insurance companies who have their seats in Bermuda, but they're actually all around the world. And the companies that providing these products are specifically designed for the life cover and for the annuity payments for the people who are offshore, for financial nomads, for people who are moving countries. And that's the great feature about these products, because your example is actually very real. Sometimes you move away, you move with your husband and then he passes away and you feel like you want to go back to your children back in South Africa. It doesn't really matter. Wherever you go, you're not constricted with the jurisdiction of the country where you're in. Like right now, if you have South African products, it will pay you in your South African accounts. If you are in UK and you only have UK life annuity under jurisdiction in UK, you will only get paid into the UK bank account.
Right.
So the offshore products are actually covering the umbrella that's covering everything around the world, and they're saying, okay, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you just give us instruction and you continue paying that amount to the new bank account. Sure. It's a huge relief, and it's something that people don't appreciate until they need it.
Absolutely, and it's you're not paying 2 to 3 bank transfer charges, international, to the UK bank, then to this bank, and then to your South African bank, and then you're waiting for the money, and that money is being eroded.
Also, you have countries that when you pay the offshore amount, they're changing laws. They might ask you now, why are you putting that money away? What is the limit? What is the reason? So you might get stuck like some of my clients in that scenario. But now, if you're not living there anymore, you can apply for the tax. Obviously, if you need to apply for the tax for everything else in that country, it's fine. But if you're not receiving offshore in that country, you're receiving it in a new country of residence, then there's no way that banks can stop you to transfer the money. And I don't know, Nick, if you know this, but South Africa is done on a basically on a UK model, and the banks, if you have a discretionary allowance or you have the tax clearance up to 10 million rand or more, if you can show and prove that you have more than 10 million rand to expatriate to take offshore, they will transfer the money easily. just because you have those allowances. But European banks, almost all European banks, will actually ask you, where do you want to invest the money? They will ask you for the contracts. They will then look and say, is the company a member of OEFC, OEPS? And in some countries, they might say, you know what, we don't want to allow you to transfer the money for your own investment into reputable, United States brokerage or huge insurance company. So it's a big, big thing to have the products that can pay you into your account anywhere. Of course, if you live in one of those European countries, you can receive the money without any problems. But if you want to pay for the products themselves, or expatriate the like euros or dollars, from your offshore accounts in European countries, it's not so easy. It's really a problem, and people have to be aware of that, especially if they're moving to Europe.
So I suppose then it comes down to working with the right advisor who's got experience, not just in a specific market or in a few specific markets, but in the global market, to what's available globally.
Definitely. Our listeners, even if they don't plan to move overseas, or if they do plan, or their kids plan, they should definitely get advice from somebody who is properly offshore based.
Right.
Now, this sounds
and reputable.
A lot of advisors in South Africa will kill me for this, but you know what? I had no ideas what possibilities are offshore until I started working with offshore companies in offshore capacity outside of South Africa. And they are not on South African markets, so you can't work with them in South Africa. So it is very important to get that. And also, if you have advisor in South Africa, I think a lot of them can give you a good advice as to which companies to use for your visa, for your citizenship and stuff like that. So that I approve 100%. It's not that I approve, I just think there's no big difference. Again, there are companies in South Africa, and I actually partnered with one of them, so it's available in South Africa. Think about having a real offshore account.
As in real.
Yeah. So what I mean by that, if you're a Standard Bank client, you have Shift, like I have, right? If you are FNB, you have FNB offshore account, which is actually the branch of FNB in Isle of Man, I think, or Guernsey, I'm not sure. Guernsey. Then I think Nedbank uses Wise. But the bottom line is you still don't have a fully offshore account. You're still connected to the risk of Standard Bank as a group, FNB as a group. And you might have a problem also with transferring the money if you go overseas. So you should have, same like these products, you should have one offshore account. For example, we can offer now up to 4 different Swiss bank accounts, okay, mostly for high net worth individuals, and one Mauritian bank account. But even if you are in South Africa now and you're planning to do something offshore, try to get a proper offshore account, because if you get payouts into proper offshore account, you can decide then, are you going to be paying back into South Africa if you're in South Africa? Are you going to pay your children if they're in the UK or Dubai? Are you going to pay yourselves if you move overseas? Okay, so you have total flexibility in that regard. You're not locked in Shift rules and Standard Bank rules or FNB rules. For the beginning, it's good. A lot of people are using it. But I would say if you want to do it properly, think about that as well.
Excuse me, grabbing some water.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, Nick. I'm very passionate about this subject, so you must stop me if I'm talking too much.
No, I don't think you're talking enough. So on that point, I think we've done, this is our 3rd recording, and I know as it evolves and as we go, it's going to get more, it will flow better in terms of, so for me, I've been in front of cameras for years. I know for you, other than one-on-one with clients, this is a little bit difficult. So what I'm trying to do, or I'm asking questions like a client, and I'm thinking like a client in terms of what I want to ask. And I think the information being shared is invaluable, and it's practical, and most importantly, it's actionable. Because 30 years ago, and I think we've discussed this before, information was the commodity. You paid for
Yes.
it. We'd get those memory courses on 20 tape cassettes, and then it was 10,000 Rand. An insane amount of money, and you'd lend it out to your friends and make sure you got it back or rent it out. And there were libraries you could rent these things from. Today, information is free. The practicality of the information is important because you need to discern what information is the correct information that you're using, that you're not being taken advantage of, and even that you're not wasting your time. And then what is actionable? That's what's vital. How do you put it into action? Because all of the ideas and all of the information is wonderful, but it's worthless if you cannot act on it, if you cannot action it. So I think, Zaki, it's been wonderful listening to you because that's the info that you're putting across. What I also wanted to ask you, so we've touched on, we've touched on it's like a different voice. We've touched on the structures and what's available and how to do it, primarily from an investment point of view. What I'd like to look at is what are the investment packages or structures that we have available to protect us against the currency. Are there foreign currency accounts, the true offshore investments? Are there multi-currency funds, the equity? How do you go about structuring one of your clients' investment portfolios?
Again, it's a bespoke
FNA,
advice.
yes.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not FNA. It's basically knowing what is important to the client,
Right.
what is he most afraid of, what is he worried about. Okay, so there's a risk component, because we need to protect our wealth for ourselves and for our family.
Mm.
And then there's a dream aspect, is why are we working, what do we want to do in 5 years, in 1 year, tomorrow, whenever. So
Yes.
everybody is different, and according to that, I can just say one thing, maybe which is very broad, but it's important, that there the amount of products is so big that you can have anything. And I mean, I can have access to, and clients, if they really want, they can have access from the loan notes of the UK companies to private equities, to trading funds, to Swiss quote ETF funds. Obviously, everybody's now into the coins and bitcoins. That's a totally different topics. We're talking then about properties. There are properties that are guaranteed by the governments, for example, which people don't know. In UK, which means you have the guaranteed rent for 20 years, so you don't have to worry about. So there's a diversification in every single aspect that is available to the client through different relationship that your advisor should have with different companies, which are cherry picked out of the hundreds of companies in each sphere. So
Right.
properties, you cherry pick the best partners. Alternative investments, you cherry pick the best partners. Life cover investments, because offshore life cover is actually investment. It's not like South African life cover, which is just like insurance for the car. And you need to have access to the best and the biggest of them. So annuities, bespoke investments for 5-year, 10-year terms. What is the aim of annuity? What is the risk profile? After we do those things, the questions that after clients tells us exactly what he wants and what kind of risk profile he is, everything is available. I mean, and when I say everything, it's almost like I'm a kid in a candy shop, because when I see what is available. But the real challenge is to have a good advisor who can actually hear what your risk profile is, what you really are happy with, and what are you afraid of. And then according to all the story that you gave him, he can recommend some of the products in that whole platform that actually matches your character, your personality, your risk profile, and obviously discuss with him not only one but few different products. Okay, because again, if you have 1 million products, you can choose the wrong one for
Right.
yourself. It's
Yes.
not wrong for you, but maybe it's wrong for me. You
Right.
know. So also there is I told you there's a million things. For example, you can have investment or a life cover, but let's say investment that you can choose the currency at any time. So you can invest $1 million into this annuity or any kind of investment that you can choose to be in US dollars.
Mm.
Now that investment has 5 different currencies that you can actually swap the investment in and out. And also when you're receiving the income, and I think that's beautiful because if you move to UK, you would like to receive pounds.
Right.
If you move somewhere where the United States dollar is strong, you would like to receive the United States. If you move to China and you want to receive renminbis, you can actually receive renminbis. So your $1 million is actually 1 million of something that you choose, and you can change the currency at any time of the policy term. So you can come and say, you know what, in 2 years, I'm moving to China. I can see what's happening in the world, transfer my $1
Mhm.
million into whatever renminbis and I'm going to receive the income there. Or you move to Canada, I want Canadian dollar. Okay, we just choose in a click of a button, the whole policy changes. That's what they call multi-currency funds, because you can actually change your investment without any cancellations and taking money in and out, or drawdowns, or no penalties at all. It's just a
Mhm.
pure switch of a button, and you change your investment from one currency to another, because you might want to change it for various reasons, geopolitical reasons, moving into the country which was you don't care what the dollar is doing. If you move to UK, you want to receive income in pounds, and you want to know that
Mhm.
$1 million is 900,000 pounds, and from now you're receiving income in pounds. Fair enough. That's what you
Right.
that's what you if you
It
want
it
that.
gi- it gives that stability, and I think I'm getting an understanding here in terms of the diversity of product that's available for specific needs or different needs. Growing up in
Yes.
South Africa, being involved in the financial services industry for 15 years here, geez, I look fantastic for my age. I mean, the insurance, financial services for 15 years, the gym for nearly 15 years. It's amazing, huh? Hold it. Yeah.
You're the world champion in powerlifting, eh?
And we're, yeah, and and
Huh?
and and don't forget, I worked for Baron Security. I installed alarms, and I worked for Tedlex. I built the jumbotron, the big screen at Ellis Park. I mean, how's that? This, I was just sort of wondering because I left school at 17. So I suppose being 53 now, 36 years. It does make sense with all of those things. So did you realize, and maybe this is something as well for another conversation, how young you feel at this age? And when we were younger and we looked at how old we are now, we thought that was old and over the hill. It's like energized, vital, wanting to do this for so much longer. Anyway, that's another topic. But to go back, my
Excellent.
understanding of the insurance market in South Africa is it's medical aid, medical insurance. Medical aid, medical insurance are whole of life products. You have life cover, which covers your life. That's a whole of life product. You have capital disability. That's a term product, or I think you can get it whole of life. You have income disability. That's a term product. And then you have your endowments and your unit trusts. From what we've discussed in the international market, the flexibility and the product structures are so much more than we actually understand, than we can actually relate to. And I think just talking about the products, that can give us a couple of episodes as well.
Yeah, true. It's actually true. Especially life products, because I'm in industry for 20 odd years. So, I was just like shocked. I was asking people, but is this is this how this life policy works? They're like, yes, it works like that. I'm like, no, it's impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't work
No,
like that.
because
I know how life products
yeah,
work. Because
we get we get we get programmed,
yes,
excuse me, to think in a specific way.
That's true. That's true, Nick.
I don't want to say we get beaten, get it beaten into us by Angle, but we're not really sure. That's an in-house joke, folks. So I think, okay, so there's that massive diversification on the investment side, and there's a broad range of investment options to give us annuities to put out. Are there short-term in true offshore investments that clients can look at? Maybe we have someone who's just finishing varsity, doesn't want to be putting money into South Africa, that's a little bit younger, or young parents have had a kid, or grandparents, they want to do something on a 5-year or 10-year term, get their toes wet, get a sense. What kind of products are available? Excuse me, I'm just grabbing some more water.
Grab some water, and then you actually...
You're answering the question.
You poked the bee's nest with this question, to be honest. Because
hold on, hang on. I'll get my Apple Pencil. Let's poke. Come on, let's poke away. Let's go. Poke it, Zaki.
Get those beehives. No, I specifically left that for. I didn't discuss that, and it's good that you asked me that question.
And I think so. Just why are we doing this? Because information is power. Everything that I've done within the Emmet Group and with my own structure is to enable people to develop self-love, to develop that self-worth, that self-esteem. And for clients who have that already, we do a lot of self-defense training. This is self-defense. Being financially stable, being financially secure, wherever you are in the world or whatever happens, is the ultimate form of self-defense, not only for yourself, but for your loved ones. And I'm passionate about this. I've been out of the game for nearly 2 decades, and I'm still passionate about it because it's vital. Can teach people to fight, but to protect yourselves. I spoke at Liberty a couple of years ago, just actually right before the beginning of COVID, in 2019, in December. It was to one of their branches and to one of their teams. And I spoke to them about doing this, getting online, creating a presence, creating an awareness, and getting out there in front of their clients so that they could be perceived as centers of information, centers of expertise, that they could go to, refer people to. I know your business has been built on referrals. So what I said to them then is, you should be proud to call yourselves insurance salesmen and not financial advisors. And they all went like, oh, because that's, and I understand why, but the reality is, you guarantee, going back to the point on self-defense, you guarantee in what you do that if a husband dies, if a wife, if the breadwinner dies, and again, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for upsetting anybody with that, but that's the generation that we grew up in, and this is the default language that I go to in my head. So you just say the breadwinner. I'm not meaning husband or wife, the breadwinner. That the spouse who is also a breadwinner but potentially can't meet the income obligations now on one income, doesn't have to move and put the kids into a different school that's perhaps lower down on the educational spectrum, with lower opportunities for networking, for sports, for the special facilities such as science labs and stuff, that you don't have to send your kid to a worse school because you haven't planned. I said to the guys, that's what you guys do. You guarantee, you keep them safe. You know that the kids don't have to walk home from a school in a worse neighborhood because they had to move to a worse neighborhood and now they're physically at risk. Because these are the realities of what happens when we don't plan and we don't do what's necessary. And now doing it at an international level, it's just a different level of risk that you're avoiding. And that's why I get so passionate about this. And that's why I'm excited to do this with you. that, you know, we can get this message out there, that we can share, and, you know, people must come and talk to you. You know, I've known you for a long time, and if people need advice, you the guy that they come and talk to. So I think let's go back. Sorry for the interruption. 3 minutes, 51 seconds. Monologue. Have you got your pen as well?
Here it is.
All right, let's poke the beehive. Poke it. Hang on a second.
Yes,
Hang on one.
Yes.
You know, Zoki, I think I'm not going to be able to stay too serious for too long. So let me give you a little bit of a build up here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Zoki, let's do it.
So what was the question?
Poke the beehive. Talk to me about short-term investments. So youngsters wanting to get into investing offshore, people wanting to put, you know, if you got a young family, you think I might go overseas in 10 years or in 15 years, how do you start out getting comfortable with the big wide world out there? So they want to do a 5-year investment or a 10-year investment. What's available?
Yes, look, a lot of youngsters are actually very clever. Well, they're clever for themselves, and they find their own way to invest these days with the you know, technology advancing as it is. But they don't consider all the risks, you know, and most of the time it's derivative products, and it's actually stuff that is not really on the books.
So let me go back on that point. I'm talking about people that want to build a relationship with an advisor.
Yes,
so,
of course.
So, you know, we spoke in episode 1 of having a COO, having a chief CFO, a chief financial officer for your personal life.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are products available from various companies. However, and this is why it was a beehive. However, what I realized is that these products have been used most of the time, and I don't know if you check any offshore ad on Facebook or anyway, one of the biggest, one of the most amount of ads are actually about children education and those plans, 5, 10, 15, 20 years plans. That is because there are companies out there, huge companies, I'm not going to mention their names, or I can, from Zurich to Outmost, formerly known as Generali, to Royal London 360, and there are brokerages out there specifically talking here to the experts in Dubai and United Emirates, because I had clients who have been burnt with those policies. So they push those long-term products with a huge cost. And what do I mean? I mean that the product only benefits brokerage, and insurance company or investment company. The client is the last one in that picture, and it doesn't benefit at all. I'll give you an example. I had a friend, very good friend of mine, who was investing $2,500 a month, and after 13 years, he had exactly the same amount, slightly less than what he invested.
Sure.
So when I looked at the policy, I realized that the portfolios were actually quite good. They were performing very well, but the fees on those policies were 8% plus annually. I have to say this because this is very important and very, I don't want people to get burned. So I would like them to contact the advisor. If, you know, here is the test. If you had one of those policies that you pay 5 or 10 or 15 years from any of the offshore advisor, they're even in South Africa now, by the way, but mostly in offshore jurisdictions like United Arab Emirates, and you haven't seen your advisor regularly, okay? Or you didn't have any contact, you didn't have any statements from your policy for more than 1 year, you should have alarm bells ringing, and I will help you free of charge. Doesn't really matter. Please contact me, because the chances are you are in one of these policies. Why am I saying this? Because there are products that are actually on the same level of expense as South African unit trusts, you know, which people are very used to, but they don't bring huge commission to the brokers. They're just one of the products that advisors such as myself and other ethical advisors should use to help build the capital for the clients.
And the relationship,
the product
right?
Get rich.
Yeah.
Yes. This
and
is
the relationship with the advisor. Yeah.
100%. So that's what I'm saying. You mentioned them, and if you ask people, they will tell you they do have. If they live in Dubai, most of them will tell you, you know what, you might have some life cover for friends in Provident, and we have this it's like a product, like 15 or 20 years or 10 years, $2,000 a month. That's for our pension, or that's for our kids' education. The purpose is this: after 15 years, we're going to take the money and put it to the kids' education. And as I said, if you have no idea in which product you are, if advisor haven't seen you to look at the return of your portfolio in last year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this client of mine, for example, hasn't been seen by advisor for 13 years. We are contacting the brokerage to say, well, the guy has left like 8 years ago. Okay, so I just want people to be aware of that, because that's the most sold product in offshore markets.
Sure.
Those kind of expensive, they call them wrappers, bond wrappers, endowments. We call them endowments. You can call it. But yes, there are good products out there, to answer your question.
So I think just, and on that point for our listeners, where Zoran says, I'll do it for you for free, I'll have a look for free. I think that's really what he's about, and not to blow smoke up your bottom, but it's about building long-term relationships, adding value, and just for you to start a relationship to see if, can you help, and if they want to work with you going forward, if they're happy with that. And I think that kind of short-term investment product where you got 5 years and you can see what the advice was like. I've been approached by some guys recently, South African-based insurance sales guys. It was like, oh, do this product and that. And then, I just hit them with some of the questions that I know. And one, they almost got upset that I asked them about. It's like, yeah, but hold on a second. This is not an offshore product. What happens in this case? Does this form part of my estate? Does this form part of... And, you aren't seeing and the guys are getting upset. But the one thing that they want to talk to you about is their fantastic returns over the last 2 years. Wow, we've done well. Look at this growth. And what's your return over the last 5 years? Oh, no, well, because of COVID, the markets and the. So I said, yes, but you want to promote your returns over 2 years because of the post-COVID interest rate hikes that we're seeing internationally, that the returns have gone up, but you don't want to talk about the downside. So, that's also an important thing, is don't get dazzled by the returns, look at the fees.
Yes, I actually never use the term to advertise any product to any fund manager, because you can change it at any time. You need to see, what is the best suited, what kind of geographical location client want, and so on and so forth. But fees are important, yes, because they advertise the returns. So I just saw one of those portfolios, they're like 12 or 13% US dollar year in, year out for 13 years for this client of mine, and yet he was paying 8 to 9% fees.
Yeah.
Plus the credit card fee. Okay, that's what I'm saying. He's got more or less exactly the same amount as he put, and yet the advisor wasn't wrong when he said, you know what, I'm going to put you into these 3 portfolios, and he showed a picture of portfolios where it's invested, which companies, blue chip, a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of everything. Great performance, but what he forgot to mention is first 8 to 9% for us, and then everything above that you will receive. That's sure. Like, you can't count on that. You can't count, that any portfolio, you're going to be so lucky that you're going to get guaranteed 8 or 9% just to keep your money at bay. Then you might as well put it in a bank.
Yeah, and if your market returns under that, you paying them out of your capital. They've got a guaranteed 8% return.
My friend was pissed off, and I said to him, "You should be happy. You're lucky." He's like, why am I lucky? I put $128,000 and I'm on $129,000. I said, you're lucky because the period of time when you took the policy and these funds performed year in, year out, or some years 20%, some years less.
Yeah.
But on average, they performed exactly the same amount that you put in, because you could have been sitting now at $60,000, half of that. So count your blessings.
Yeah, and count your blessings. Absolutely, absolutely. Zaki, I think we've covered a lot. I'm really happy for that episode. What I'd like to chat maybe about, we've got our list of questions to go through. I don't know how we're going to break these down into shorter clips, but we will. I'll share the video with you, and we'll set out. I'll get these out onto the channels. But I think a couple of things. What are what are the regulatory bodies like? What are the jurisdictions you want to work in? These are all things that we can sort of cover in the next episode. I think if anyone, those who are listening, if they've got any questions, they can get you at zoransokolovski.com.
Yes, zoransokolovski.com is a website. There's also there's an email, Zoran, Zoran, at zoransokolovski.com.
Fantastic.
Or my LinkedIn, just DM me on the LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn DM, it's the best. Yeah.
I'm there, yeah.
Give the man a look up, and absolutely, that's the way to. Zoran, thank you for your time. It's great chatting to you. Is there anything that you would like to add before we go?
No, not really. I think we spent almost an hour and a half, and I think it was great. Yeah. And I really enjoyed sharing these things. Some powerful questions, and
thank you.
I wasn't expecting anything less because you were in the industry, Yeah. So you can put yourself in a client's shoes like brilliantly, and I really loved it. And yes, it is very, very important. Now, I wanted just to mention one thing to you. When you said breadwinner and you have a second breadwinner, my experience, Nick, is that most of my clients that are successful are actually breadwinners. So that makes the situation even worse, because the family, it's usually the family take care of the caretaker of the family and the children, which are left without any income when the breadwinner passes away.
Right. And I think that is a very South African thing, that when you can afford it, you don't want your partner to work, and you have help to look after the house. Yes. And also, what is the financial, maybe that's another episode as well to cover, that we can look at what is the financial literacy level, or what are the skills that your spouse needs if you're no longer around. What do they need to know? What education do they need? Definitely a good topic for us to cover. And I think with all of this, we're going to be building up to an online webinar that people can subscribe to. Come on, we'll do it live. We'll go worldwide, and we'll have questions available live for Zoran. I'll ask him questions, I'll facilitate, and Zoran will answer them. So we're looking forward to getting that set up pretty much the first quarter of 2025. Which is like a month away. It's crazy. It's Christmas and then done. So absolutely. And, when are you next planning on coming out to South Africa, by the way? Have you set a date in Jan? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right. So it'll be good to see Zoran, because I don't think we've seen one another in person for a while. And he doesn't age, ladies and gentlemen. He looked exactly like this. And just before we go, Zaki, I know, we could be leaving for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Tell us,
poor listeners, whoever listens to this to the end,
Yes. We started off mentioning a story of a young man moving with his wife to a new country to look at building, chasing dreams, coming out of chaos, because I think that's something that's very important. We talk about political instability, and definitely time, maybe this is how we can start our next show. We talk about political instability as it's a thing that could happen, but for you, it has happened. You didn't leave your country by choice.
Yes.
So I think
Only,
that,
well,
you know, that's, I know,
you always have a choice.
yeah, well, 100%. We always have, but you left, you didn't have the choice that was as good as coming to SA. Wait, no, they came out wrong. Right, we had a choice, but you made the choice to come here. Tell us,
Yes, we are.
yep.
Yeah.
Tell us about now. For those viewers, obviously, have all been to Europe. Those who have been to Europe, or everyone's been that's watching this as an example. I really have to be careful nowadays not to get myself into trouble. Um, the city centre, London, Paris, Stockholm, Sweden, Geneva. You move, you move to a place, you want to move to the city centre. It's buzzing. Cologne, Germany, my favorite. Like you just walk downstairs, go 3 blocks in any direction. You can find a fantastic bakery. You can find coffee. Somehow you always end up at the cathedral, and then the bridge with all the padlocks. It's a lovely place. So you chose to come to the city centre in South Africa, in Johannesburg, in 1993.
Yeah, in 1993. Well, I was young. I was 25 years old. I just got married, and
Yeah.
you can say I took my wife on a honeymoon. That's not a good one. But yes, we just got married and we left because I think we were one of the first countries at that time. It was Yugoslavia
Mm.
that suffered this crisis of international order, and the wars have broken up after the first time after the Second World War in Europe. And it was very hectic and very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
But we came here because we were offered the permanent residency because of my electroengineering degree, and I actually loved it. I don't know why. I knew nobody in South Africa. I've never been in South Africa. But just that hospitality, when I spoke to the people, when they offered me the residency, at that time, it wasn't easy to actually get out of the country.
Mm.
And people were like, especially the foreign ambassadors and foreign admin people. So anyway, we chose South Africa. We came to Johannesburg, and on the airport, I was like, okay, there's a place there where you can choose to book the hotels. So I saw lots of hotels. Some of them was in some place like Sandton City, and then but it was like 3-star hotel, and it was very expensive. And then you have like 5-star hotel with the pool in the center of town, Mariston Hotel.
Yeah.
And not only that, if you take 1 month in advance to pay for the whole month, it's like even 30% cheaper. I'm looking at that and I said, can I see the pictures? So I see the pictures of the hotel, I see the pool, I see the area, and I'm like, I'm paying for 1 month, So I don't think, maybe this is for some other episodes, but I would just say that when we came there the first night, there was a gunshots and the sirens all over the place. I was on the 17th floor. We were exhausted. We traveled for 39 hours. And my wife just said to me, she wanted to fall asleep, and she said, "What is this? It's the gunshots because we just came from the war-torn country." So I'm like, "No, my love, don't worry. It's a public holiday here. So like in our country, they like to celebrate by shooting in the air, In the meantime, I was just looking at the police chasing and shooting the 70 floors down there. So no, it was. I think the luck follows the brave, and I think I was very young. We were brave, and we were lucky. To be honest.
And you've got a great wife.
Thank you.
A great wife, who I'm scared of, by the way. You know that.
Don't be scared.
No, I'm just kidding. But I suppose and it's a story that we can say it's a wonderful story, it's a fun story, but there's so much to it in reality to share about, and I look forward to chatting about it in the next episode because it's vital. Not only does it speak to what can happen, but it speaks to your passion and your integrity. And it's important for me for people to know that and to understand that and why you do what you do, why you back home. These are the things these are real reasons, but also what it speaks to is have an advisor. Have someone that knows the markets that you are thinking of going into, that you are thinking of investing in, that you don't make the mistake of looking at the nice brochure with the pretty pictures, right? And ending up 17 floors above gunshots, you know. So that's the reality, you know. Just it's not hard in this day and age. Find an expert, find an advisor, speak to Zoran, and you know that's my. I don't know, Zaki. We must talk. Can I? What is this thing? You can't give advice. You can't get. Can you make a recommendation? Can you point at someone? You know, these are the things. But this is what I'm saying. Okay, all right. That's why we're doing this, because Zoran's got the experience, the knowledge, and the expertise. And this is something that I'm passionate about, because in my 15 years of running the gym and since operating internationally, I see how wonderful expat life is and how diverse it is. And again, chatting again, we've been saying goodbye for 40 minutes. Again, chatting to another client, talking about like, why do you want to be there? No, because you got this, the best of this, the best of this is opening up, that's opening up, this is new. These guys are coming here. You know, South Africans, we get very heart sore, my generation, because we didn't really grow up with a lot of international artists or sports coming to South Africa. And then we had a period where we got a lot, you know, where post-elections, and South Africa opening up, and then it's quieting down quite a lot now. So, you know, it's like, have you at least booked your tickets for Robbie Williams? But it's like, just, you know, the international world has so much to offer. There's so much excitement, and people should be taking advantage of it. And working overseas or living overseas for 20 years doesn't mean abandoning your country and giving up on your country. You can come back and do both, and you do it legitimately. You do it, you know, you pay the tax that you have to pay, no more and no less, and you do it the right way, and you love and experience and enjoy everything that this world has to offer. So I'm really excited about this, dude. All right.
Couldn't have said it better.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our listeners if they actually listen to this to the end, but yeah.
Yeah. If you got to the end, thank you for listening this far. Your bonus was Zoki's story, and I think we shared a lot of really valuable information at the end here. So, Zox, I'm going to end the recording, and I'll say cheers to you. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us today. And as always, this show does not constitute financial advice, but we will do our utmost to bring you the best experts in their fields to discuss the best options for you. If you would like to get in touch with Zoran, please reach out to him on his Instagram account and send him your questions or comments directly. Let us have your questions and comments in the comment section as well, and we'll endeavor to do our best to answer them for you. I'm going to go take a lovely walk along the promenade now, get some sun while I can and some coffee, and we wish you all a wonderful day. Look forward to seeing you next week.